And now it's time for another magical visit to Walt Disney's Storyland. And now, your host, Zane Fulp. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Zane Fulp, and welcome back to Walt Disney Storyland. You're in for a treat today because I'm going to read you two stories about our local favorite resident duck, Donald. Our first story for today, Donald Duck's Toy Train. Now I'm going to tell you this before it begins the first story. I'm not really good with doing voice impersonations of Donald Duck and Chip and Dale because my voice can't actually high, but I mean, my voice isn't exactly strong enough to reach those pitches. So I'm going to read it in the voice you're hearing right now. All right, let's begin now. Donald Duck had a new toy train in his backyard, and it was a beauty too. It had a shiny black engine with a coal car behind where Donald rode because he was too big for the toy engine's cab. Donald's train had a coach, a mail car, and a red caboose, though none of his friends could go inside because it was a toy-sized train. There was a little station next to the track, Canyonville, the sign said, and around the station a little village spread with houses and churches and stores. Only nobody lived there because it was too small, and that did seem too bad. One day, Donald was laying some new train track when he came sprang up against a great big tree. "This will have to go," said Donald Duck. "It's much too big for my toy train." So he had the big tree moved away. Now up in that treetop was the cozy home of two chipmunks, Chip and Dale. They were away at the time, gathering nuts for their winter food. Soon they came back with great armloads of nuts and got ready to climb to their home. But what was this? The tree was gone. They could scarcely believe their eyes. In its place, Donald Duck had put a toy-sized tree just the right size for his little toy train. "But it's not big enough for a home for us," cried Chip. "No, sir," cried Dale. Well, this was a fix. Where could they live? The two sad chipmunks sat and thought, but that didn't get them anywhere. So they started slowly walking down the railroad tracks. Soon they came to the train where Donald had left it. "Looks like fun," said Chip. "Let's go for a ride," said Dale. So they hopped into the engine cab, which was just their size. They stoked up the little fire with a shovel full of coal, and away they chugged down the track. They roared through tunnels, up hill and down dale. It really was a wonderful ride. Soon they came to the town, and they rang the engine bell and put on the brakes and stopped. "Quite a town," said Chip. "Let's look around," said Dale. So they rattled the doors of the little stores, but no one was there to sell. They knocked at the doors of the little houses, but no one answered. One little door, though, swung open at their touch, so Chip and Dale walked inside. Inside the house they found chairs and lamps and tables and beds, all exactly chipmunk size. So Chip and Dale moved right in, but not far away a danger marched. It was Donald Duck, and he was mad. "Someone has stolen my train," he fumed. "Best toy train in the world," he fussed, "and it's probably wrecked by now. It isn't everyone who can manage a real old train like that." Just then he looked up and he saw the train parked at the station as neat as could be. Near the train he found tiny footprints leading straight to the little house. Donald went to the window and peeked in. Chip and Dale were curled up in bed, taking naps. Well, isn't that cute? Said Donald. What's more, they're just the right size. So Donald made friends with Chip and Dale. He delivered tiny balls of milk to their door and teeny loaves of bread, and he let them drive his fine toy train while he rode on a coach behind. It's much more fun, said Donald happily, to play with folks who are just the right size. And now, on to story number 2, Toy Sailboat. There, said Donald Duck. At last it's done. He stood back to look at his toy sailboat. Making it had been a big job. It had taken him all summer long, but now the boat was finished, and it was a beautiful boat. The mantel was just the place for it, too. The whole room looked better with a sailboat up there. Building sailboats is very hungry work, Donald said to himself, so he fixed himself a fine big lunch. Now to try out the boat in the lake, he thought. But his hard work had made him sleepy too, so Donald settled down for a nap. After that, he would try out the boat. Now outside Donald's cottage in the old elm tree lived 2 little chipmunks, Chip and Dale, and they had had no lunch at all. I'm hungry, said Chip as he rubbed his empty middle. Me too, said little Dale, but suddenly he brightened. Look, he said. Chip looked and looked. At last he spied it. One lone acorn still clinging to the bough of an oak down beside the lake. Down the elm tree they raced, across to the oak, and up its rough-barked trunk. Mine! Cried Chip, reaching out for the nut. I saw it first, Dale cried. So they pushed and they tugged and they tussled until the acorn slipped through their fingers and fell clunk into the lake. The 2 little chipmunks looked mighty sad as they watched the acorn float away, but Dale soon brightened. Look, he cried. Chip looked. On a little island out in the middle of the lake stood a great big oak tree weighed down with acorns on every side. Down to the shore the chipmunks ran, but brrr, it was too cold to swim. How can we get to them? Wondered Chip. I don't know, said Dale, but he soon had an idea. Look in there, he said. On the mantel in Donald Duck's cottage they could see the toy sailboat. Come on, said Dale. So away they raced, straight in the cottage door. They had the sailboat down and almost out the door when Donald stirred in his sleep. Nice day for a sail, he said dreamily, as the boat slipped smoothly past his eyes. Soon after, Donald woke up completely. Now to try out my boat, he cried. Suddenly, something outside the window caught Donald's eye. It was a sailboat, out on the middle of the lake. I'll fix those chipmunks, Donald said. He pulled out his fishing rod and reel and chose a painted fly. It looked just like a nut. This will do, Donald grinned. From the pier he cast as far as he could fling that little fishing fly. With a plop, it landed beside the toy boat. Look at this, cried Dale. He leaned way over the edge of the boat to pull in the floating fly. Good, a nut, said Chip. We'll toss it in the hold and have it for supper tonight. As soon as it was fast in the hold, Donald pulled in the line. He pulled that little boat right in shore. The chipmunks never suspected a thing. They did not even notice Donald pouring water into the cabin of the boat. Chip discovered that when he went into the cabin. Man the pumps, he cried. Those 2 chipmunks worked with might and main while Donald watched and laughed. Ha ha! At Donald's chuckle, the chipmunks looked up. So that's the trouble, Dale cried. He pulled out the fishing fly from the hold and flung it at Donald so that he was soon tangled up in the fishing line. Chip and Dale set sail once more. Before Donald could launch his swift canoe, they had touched the island shore. As Donald was paddling briskly along, he heard a brisk rat-a-tat-tat. The oak tree on the island seemed to shiver and shake as its store of acorns rained down. The busy little chipmunks finished dancing on the branches. Then they hauled their harvest on board the sailboat. "Oh, well," said Donald, watching from his canoe, "at least I know the sailboat will sail." And can you guess what the chipmunks did? They stored their nuts in a hollow tree, and they took Donald's toy sailboat right back and put it where it belonged. Well, that's it for Storyland for now. Be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below, and I will see you next time for another magical visit to Storyland. This is Zane, signing off, and wishing you a magical day. Thanks for watching. Take care.